Hello, I'm Joshua of Milestone Play. I am a professional game master, and I really hope that I don't regret making this video. Helping rules lawyers make their case. First and foremost, I want to say that I don't say rules lawyer with any form of negative connotation. Rules lawyers are fantastic. They are player advocates. Game masters have a ton of power when it comes to role-playing games. As they are the referee of the rules, they determine what rules they want in and out of the game, all those sorts of things. A rules lawyer player is someone that says, okay, these are the rules we are playing with. This is what we get to do. This is what I get to do. This is what my companions get to do. If these are the rules we're playing by, this is our power. We know these ground rules. We know this basis, this foundation that we make our choices on. So rules lawyers are fantastic. That said, the internet has a lot of wonderful theory crafting on it. It has a lot of spoof videos of the characters you can make, the rules that can be abused, all those sorts of things. So what this video is about is taking the idea of there's a lot of wacky stuff that can happen in the rules that game masters may not be thrilled about. Game masters may say, well, yes, but not at my table, those sorts of things. And I want to take a look at how to help rules lawyers make their case in a very broad sense. And I'm going to do this by ridiculing myself and what might have been some rules mistakes I made at my table, some rules calls of essentially going, well, that yes, the book says that, but this is why no. I'm going to look at some of my moments of that, and then let's see how to help the rules lawyer make their case. For this, we should look a little bit at how I adjudicate rules so you can get an understanding of the perspective I'm coming from. I like to think that I follow the rules of 5th edition D&D about 95% of the time. So I very much appreciate that is how the players get to view the game. They get to read the game, they get to learn the game. The rules of the game should be the rules of the game. I even get really nitpicky and technical with the rules, especially when it comes to what a player character can and can't do based off of the spells, the feats, the class options that they've taken. In order to promote players taking a bunch of different classes, taking options that are not common options, I will try to stick heavily to the rules in areas where, had they taken that other option, it would be so much easier to do this thing. So things like underwater fighting, things like that, where I very much want to stick to the rules and say, well, no, you could do that, but you want to take this option. Things like bonus actions. I'm a stickler on, is this a bonus action? Do you have this bonus action? Well, then no, you can't do it as a bonus action. If you wanted to do that, maybe you should have, gone thief rogue or things like that, where I want to promote those aspects of play. Charging. Take the charger feat if you want to charge an attack, because there's no reason to take charger. There's no reason to be a minotaur if you don't. So that's where I get really stickler with the rules, is when it's like, hey, no, there's an option for that. I want you to take that option. That way there's a reason to take it. So there's that. On the opposite side, there are times where I completely go away from the rules, where I go, well, yeah, it says that, but we're not going to do that. The main times I really do that is when it comes to story and narrative. If something is absolutely, I feel like the rule is breaking down the logic of why a scene would be happening the way it is, things like that, I will say, no, that's not how we're playing it. But that does take power away from the players. So questioning that, let's look at an example. So in one of my games right now, we actually have most of the players not playing their primary characters. They've been playing the characters for a while, and they wanted to change things up, play something a little different. And because of that, we have some weirder technical builds in the party that are purely for the mechanical power of the build. One of the builds is Octavian. Octavian, I don't have the exact spread, but is a Gloomstalker Ranger, Pact of the Chain, a Hexblade Warlock with like a level of Rogue thrown in for a little bit of sneak attack damage on top. So very technical, researched build. And the particular rule that kind of came up in play was the fact that the Pact of the Chain Warlock can have an imp familiar. Imp familiars can be invisible. So in combat, shouldn't the imp familiar be able to stand next to an enemy and provide sneak attack. The rules of sneak attack on rogues say that even if they don't have advantage, they still get sneak attack if they have an enemy of that target adjacent to them. That's how it should be played. When that came up, I hadn't really been informed that that was a rule that was going to be called into play, that weird niche thing. We're in the middle of combat. First time we've fought with these characters. The characters are really fresh. The player springs this on me. And, you know, new characters, middle of combat, wanted to keep things flowing. I just went, oh, okay. And we continued. We played the session, we played it through, and I didn't say a thing. As I sat with it, though, the story part of my brain started going, whoa, 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 I don't like that. Like, I tried to let it go, but I don't like that. He's invisible, he's doing nothing to the enemy, but you get sneak attack. Like, the enemy is completely unaware that the imp is there, and he's providing sneak attack. Sneak attack is supposed to be that, you know, you're distracted, your allies are providing openings that you can get to. There's no openings being opened up. There's no distraction. He has no idea. There's zero interaction. And so, second session, start of the session, before we start playing, I bring this up. The fact that, like, I am uncomfortable with an invisible imp that is unknown, that is not interacting at all, could provide sneak attack, could provide flanking. We do play with optional flanking rules, advantage, opposite sides, 5 feet, all that. But the idea that, you know, these rules that are about the enemy is distracted and you can better take advantage of that. I don't like giving the bonus because the imp isn't doing anything. The imp isn't interacting. You know, the player made a joke of like, well, rules lawyer, blah, blah, blah. And I joke back, I'm like, when have you known me to be a rules lawyer? It was happy. We went through it. The player was fine. Session continues on. He has a single level in Rogue. That is a D6 sneak attack. That is functionally nothing with these level 10 characters. Also, the designers of the game assume that rogues get their sneak attack every round. Like, that's why they gave steady aim as an option, was to ensure that they can always get it. The assumption is rogues get sneak attack. And he has one level on a level 10 character for a D6 damage. And I'm telling him no, because I'm uncomfortable with the story. The story is my job. Yes, I'm a referee. Yes, I build all, but my job is to help play the game, to be the storyteller. And while I'm uncomfortable with the implication of the rules, the story of the rogue sneak attack and the flanking is that we're getting openings out of distraction. Is there another story? Is there another story? Well, we have a Hexblade Pact of the Chain Warlock. Familiars have telepathy. Imps are intelligent. Maybe, as opposed to distracting the opponent, the imp is really up close and using telepathy to let the rogue know, oh yeah, no, he's really hanging on a lot of his weight's on his back foot. You know, that's how he's going to dodge. The weight's on the back foot. Oh, his armor has this opening here you can't see based off the angle, but if you aim low, it's going to hit him in the upper hip. There is another story that we can find to explain the weird rules thing that the player found. My job is story. And if I had just spent another 2 minutes like trying to mull this over, I would have found a story that wouldn't have required me to tell the player character no, because I was uncomfortable with the story that I had assumed. So, yes, rules lawyers, fantastic advocates when it comes to general play, but then as you have all these niche situations of like, well, is that really how the rules should be interpreted? Yeah, the rules say that, but that doesn't make sense. Well, it's a fantasy world. It's a magical story. And maybe we could just spend a little bit more time trying to figure out the story. Now, that's coming from my perspective. I very much favor story, and that's a lot of the time when I tell players no based off of rules is based off of the story. However, there are other game masters, and this kind of is me a little bit, but when you go, hey, here's this rule, it lets me do this. Like, it feels like this challenge sometimes of like, the player's trying to outsmart the game master of like, well, it doesn't matter what you say because I figured out this loophole. And that confrontational nature, which can happen, especially with, online nerd communities. We're not always the most diplomatic. We're not always the most charismatic. It is a stereotype for a reason. So when rules lawyers as a negative connotation go, well, technically I can, and you get a negative reaction, let's sell that a little bit better. As opposed to selling, hey, I get to do this. Let's think of the story first. When we find these weird rule situations, before we bring them up to the game master, let's come up with the narrative. As opposed to, I get to do this. Hey DM, hey GM, I found this weird combination, and I was kind of thinking about it like this. Like, this is the story that I see when I have to explain how these rules come together. This is what I see. Blessed by the gods, karma, a muse of karma sitting over my shoulder, telepathy, just whatever the narrative is of this really weird combination, sell it with the narrative. Sell it with what is happening in the game. Even if you're not really good at coming up with those, come up with at least a little thing to help sell this idea. And I really think it'll help game masters that are kind of against the super breaking the system ideology. And it will help them understand like, oh, this is what we can do with this. This is our tool, not your tool. This is how we're going to tell the story and how we're going to develop this. And this is what the player characters are going to experience, as opposed to, well, why is that happening? Well, the rules say the player, the heroes, the characters, they don't know what the rules say. That doesn't make sense to them. Well, let's make it make sense to them. And when you bring forward one of these really weird ideas, let's sell the whole package. Let's not just sell the mechanics. Let's sell the story. If we sell the whole package, there's more to say yes to. And even if there's something that is a little uncomfortable, having something to say yes to is easier than seeing something you don't like and then like, fine, I guess. But that's my perspective on it. That's me having to look at a rules situation, hey, these are the mechanics, this is how this should work. And then me as the game master going, that makes me uncomfortable. No, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. I just thought about it wrong. And so, I hope this is a really good way to think about those situations. And I also dread the fact of this video being thrown back in my face. So please, players who find the really weird rules things, please be kind to me. Please. And have a good day. Thanks for watching the video. It was made with the support of our patrons over on Patreon, where you can see behind-the-scenes content and the development of our own TTRPG systems. If you're looking to join a game, head on down to the description where we have a link to our Discord. You can join long-form campaigns, short mini-series for bite-sized narratives, or quick dips into systems you don't want a long-term commitment to, or you can join our Tower of Taziok. Tower of Taziok is a 5th edition infinite dungeon with roguelite elements, legacy play, and downtime synchronous with the real world. After you form a house of patronage, every week that passes in your life, your character gets a week of downtime. Everything else you can check out milestoneplay.com. And yeah, thanks for watching. Let's get going.